This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We are live in Abuja. I'm Hawa Salihu Adama. You can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nta.ng/live, and all our social media platforms displayed on the screen for updates. We start on a joyful note today as President Muhammadu Buhari today met with the freed 23 passengers of the March 28, 2022 Abuja-Kaduna train attack at the Nigeria Defense Academy NDA hospital in Kaduna. The president made an impromptu visit to the hospital to see the victims of the train attack after commissioning cadets of the 69th regular course of the NDA in Afaka, Kaduna State. Before boarding NAF 001 back to Abuja from the Kaduna International Airport, President Buhari detoured to the hospital where he also thanked the Nigerian military for their brave services in securing the safe release of the hostages from Boko Haram terrorists. Members of the Chief of Defense Staff Action Committee, led by Major General Usman Abdul Qadir, retired, who facilitated the release of the hostages, were present at the hospital. The House of Representatives has called for significant reduction in tax exemptions and waivers for corporate organizations to cushion the effect of budget deficits, which by projections is put at 11.3 trillion naira for 2023. This formed part of recommendations considered and approved during plenary on Thursday, as contained in the report from the House Committee on Finance and Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, MTEF, 2022 to 2025. Other approvals include the placement of more revenue-generating government-owned enterprises on cost of collections, as is the current practice with Federal Inland Revenue Service and the Nigeria Customs Service. Some of the agencies affected are the Nigeria Communications Commission, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, and the Nigeria Ports Authority. The affected government agencies will, as a test, have approvals to keep a percentage of collections as Parliament works to effect the amendment in the 2023 financial bill. And flood waters have submerged thousands of homes and critical highways paralyzed in Lokoja. This has left commuters and truck delivering essential supplies stagnant for days. Abdullahi Mohammed reports from the Katun Karfi side of the confluence of the River Niger and Benue.
Global warming kicking back and the confluence of the two great rivers of the Niger and Benue overflowing.
I don't have the numbers of the level of the waters, especially at the river there where the Murtala Bridge is. But what I can tell you is that where I am here, about 5-6 kilometers away from Murtala Bridge, waters have taken over the road, the villages by the right and the left-hand side. Critical supplies from trucks here has been held here for 4 days. People are finding their way to their destination by all means.
The canoes been paddled through submerged buildings. Others chose to trek across. But the worst hit are people like Mariam, whose house has become a fishing ground.
I only cook in this place. Then when it is late, I'll find where to sleep. Then early morning, I'll come back.
A stone throw away, one of the internally displaced camp. The innocent, oblivious of the condition of the camp, which could trigger an outbreak of disease.
We used to carry one home or two homes we join them together to live in one class.
The bottleneck, miles to the Murtala Bridge, has stagnated the movement of goods and services for days.
Since Monday night we are here, there's no road.
This is already sending shivers of supply shortages in big cities across the country. You may be wondering how we made our way. Motorbike in modern country, the state, Abdullah.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority has attributed the current fuel queues in Abuja to the unprecedented flooding in Lokoja, Kogi State, which has submerged a greater part of the city and grounded all vehicular movements. The statement from the authority says this unfortunately has affected the distribution of petroleum products to the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. As part of measures to mitigate the situation, tracking via alternative route is currently ongoing. The authority assures the public that there are sufficient petroleum products inland. The statement urged the public to avoid panic buying at fuel stations as the authority is working with relevant stakeholders and government agencies to ensure product availability across the country. To this effect, marketers are advised to desist from holding the product to avoid further inflicting hardship on Nigerians. The authority wishes to reiterate its commitment to Nigerians to ensure seamless supply and distribution of petroleum products nationwide. And still staying with the energy sector, as the conversation towards clean energy gets traction globally, stakeholders in the energy sector call for a roadmap that will lead the diversification towards alternative sources amid the nation's choice of gas as a transition fuel. This is part of suggestions at the ongoing National Discourse on Energy Transition in Nigeria, organized by the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. Over now to Benny Adams.
The conversation here is for a national consensus in response to the global call for action on climate change and energy transition, which implies leaving behind the dirty energy sources of oil, gas, and coal to cleaner, renewable, and sustainable energy sources.
Nigeria considered gas as not only a transition but a destination for it, to fuel the power sector, to fuel the industrial and manufacturing sector, to fuel ease of movement of goods and services.
Speakers here are from across Africa. They are concerned about the risks, challenges, and opportunities associated with such a transition, including implications on the economy, citizens, and livelihoods.
We are having a significant share of the risks in Africa, but the reward is very little.
They say a national energy transition plan exists, but amid its implementation, there is the need for equitable and responsive measures to be taken to meet the present and future needs of Nigerians.
So that as we transit to clean energy, we have alternatives to stand by. We also need a plan that will define clearly what we are going to do with our gas and oil reserves, which are enormous and can sustain this country in the next 40-50 years if we're managed.
With varying opinions being expressed, the organizers of the view that an all-encompassing roadmap that will favor the diversification of the nation's economy will be produced. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
And in the meantime, the federal government has constructed 5 power substations in Abuja as part of interventions to upgrade and boost electricity supply in the nation's capital. Joshua Ojito has that.
5 new power substations located in Gwarimpa, Apo, Kuje and Lugbe, constructed under the Abuja Feeding Scheme project to meet the energy demand of the growing population in the nation's capital. 3 of the substations nearing completion, while work at the remaining 2 substations in Apo and Lugbe is at slow pace, a situation the federal government frowns at and directed the December deadline sacrosanct. On the mandate of the Power Minister, Abubakar Aliyu, Managing Director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, is keeping close eyes on the contractors to meet the deadline.
This is a plan which this present administration has made to make sure that for the next 50 years, there will be no need for other substations in Abuja. This will be adequate and it will serve the population of Abuja. They have in mind how population increase within 5 to 10 years. So they have made a master plan whereby for the next 50 years, these stations are going to be sufficient.
The plan is such that we are maintaining an N-1 contingency such that if we have maybe a failure on one side, we will be able to resuscitate through another angle, and there's a non-stop supply of power to the Abuja.
With additional lines being constructed to increase transmission wheeling capacity, the substations will inject more than 800 megawatts of electricity to the national grid. Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
And it's time to take you to our Kaduna Network Center, where Salamatu has an update on the released victims of the Abuja Kaduna train attack. Salamatu, it's over to you.
Thank you, Hawa, and glad to have you join us here. Relations of freed victims of Kaduna Abuja train attack have applauded the federal government and security agencies for facilitating the release of their loved ones after about 8 months in captivity. Suleiman Rugachkun, who visited some family members, report that they are in joyful mood.
The remaining 23 victims who regained their freedom are expected to be reunited with their relations after undergoing medical checks. Amina Jibrin says her release from kidnappers' den is another milestone.
In fact, very, very happy. I can't express my feeling right now. Yes, I'm very happy. We were not complete, but now that they are out, we're very happy, very happy.
Muhammad Sani Abdulmajid is among 64 passengers abducted in the train attack about 8 months ago. He recalled the incident as horrific but thankful for being alive.
When I came back, all the time I'm thinking about my people I left behind. I feel sad. I'm not feeling comfortable at all. When I promised them as Imam, I advised them to keep praying. And then I promised them I have never been a slave until I saw them out.
It is the same feeling of joy and gratefulness among relations of victims released recently, as well as well-wishers trooped to the residence of one of the released victims, Muhammad Mukhtar, in Rigasa, to commiserate with his parent and relations. While appreciating federal government and the security agencies for securing the release of their son and other victims unhurt, some members of the family prayed for continued security in the country. Credible sources confirmed that the freed victims are receiving medical attention at a military facility in Kaduna. Suleiman Rugachkun, NTA News.
Federal government has provided additional infrastructure to create conducive environment for learning at the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna. The facilities are part of efforts to enhance admission into regimental courses of the premier military institution. Suleiman Rugachkun again reports that Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Salihu Magashi, inaugurated the projects.
Ahead of the presidential commissioning of the 69 regular tri-service cadets of the Nigerian Defense Academy, Minister of Defense and Chairman, NDA Governing Council, Major General Bashir Salihu Magashi, led service chiefs to inaugurate 5 newly completed projects in the Academy, which include cadet accommodation, cadet brigade, science laboratory, armory, and Hall of Fame. Minister of Defense, Major General Salihu Magashi, acknowledged the developmental strides in the academy, maintaining the master plan. He said the federal government has put in a lot of resources in making sure that the training of officers meets up with global standards.
We are very happy that this government has put in a lot of resources to ensure that the training of officers is first class their attitude, their composure, everything that a gentleman officer should have is taught in this academy. And most of us here are the product of...
The federal government, he said, is committed to training and retraining of personnel, the rudiments of modern warfare to contain all threats to national security. Sulema Rigachkun, NTA News.
And that completes our package from here, and Adeola in our Lagos Network Center is standing by with more reports on Nationwide after this timeout. Please stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Lagos. The slow-paced approach to the administration of university education in Nigeria is raising concerns as public universities in the country tend to be losing their value. This is what a university don and professor of educational management, Mubashiru Babatunde Mohammed, identified as factor militating against growth in the education sector. He said this while delivering a lecture in Lagos. Glenn Leneke reports.
Professor Mubashiru Babatunde Mohammed identified the issue of leadership, poor funding, brain drain, insecurity, cultism, and indiscipline as some of the challenges affecting university education in Nigeria. He lamented that the academic activities have been halted for about 8 months, emphasizing that the interest of the wrangling parties should be getting the students back to classroom to save the educational system. This unfortunate situation, Professor Mohammed says, does not only impact negatively on university education, but on the economic and social development of the country.
A number of multifaceted problems in form of obstacles and issues that stand at the cost in the way of effectiveness and efficiency of university education have hindered university goal attainment.
Vice Chancellor, Lagos State University, appeals to all concerned authorities to, as a matter of urgency, save the university system in Nigeria from total collapse.
We want to see our education sector at par with the ones in the advanced countries, so that we can save even our foreign exchange.
A lot of people are making donations to the university, even their books and everything, they give it to the university for free. But that's exactly what some of those things that we need to do here. We shouldn't say government alone should continue to do all that.
Let the government try as much as possible, pump more money into research.
To improve education generally in terms of the facilities, the infrastructure, we need enabling environments.
It is hoped that when the ongoing industrial action causing a setback in the education sector is eventually addressed, public universities will receive adequate attention to enable the system deliver on its mandate for national growth and economic stability. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
Now let's visit the political scene. Courtesy of the Electoral Act 2022, political parties have a 150-day timeline for their political campaigns in the build-up to the coming general elections. By the same token, the Electoral Act makes it quite loud on some of the conduct expected to guide the campaigns. Adeniyi Taiwo takes a look at some of the provisions.
Into law by President Muhammadu Buhari of February 25, 2022, the new Electoral Act is regarded as a game changer, accommodating a number of provisions designed to drive electoral reforms. With the lead of public political campaigns across the country, key provisions in the Act are expected to come to bear, giving legal backing to stringent calls for issue-based campaigns and prescribing penalties in case of contravention.
The one that strikes me more is Section 92, subsection 2, that prohibits the use of abusive, intemperate, slanderous, and some other languages that are likely to provoke or that can engineer anger to the public.
With the provisions of Section 93 to 96, it is now clear that religious centers and public offices are no-go areas for political campaigns.
As a moral compass for society, you can't stop
preachers from discussing political issues, but they must not be partisan. That's my own. But you cannot take campaign to church or mosque. It's not proper.
The Act, according to Section 91, Subsection 3 and Subsection 4, however, empowers political parties to have equal and unfettered access to public facilities and media space to converse for votes.
We advise people to notify the police of such procession, such campaigns, so that the police will be in a very good position to provide security.
The expectation is that all stakeholders will strictly adhere to the provisions of the Electoral Act in order to sanitize the electioneering process to ensure credible polls. In Lagos, Adini Itaiwo, NTA News.
And those are the stories from Lagos. Hawa is back to you for the continuation of Nationwide.
Well, Adeola, thank you. And here in Abuja, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has issued an advisory for Nigerians traveling to Ethiopia that authorities in Addis Ababa have suspended issuance of visa on arrival to non-resident foreigners at all points of entry into the country for security concerns linked to the current political situation in that country. In a statement, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says the suspension applies to nationals of all countries bearing standard passports who seek entry into Ethiopia and not specifically targeted at Nigerians. The Ethiopian authorities, the statement explains, is taking the measure to have better border control in the country in view of the ongoing armed conflict in its northern parts. The measure is also said to be temporary, pending improvement in the security situation of the country. Therefore, Nigerians bearing standard passports intending to travel to Ethiopia are advised to obtain appropriate entry visas at the Ethiopian embassy or an electronic visa through the country's Immigration and Citizen Service portal at www.evisa.gov.et. Similarly, those transiting through the Bole International Airport, Addis Ababa, to other destinations or intend to briefly stop over would require valid entry visa to enable them access hotel facilities in the city, else they would be obligated to remain at the airport pending their connecting flights. The Nigerian Youth Movement for Ashiwaju is sustainably galvanizing support for the All Progressives Congress candidates at all levels. The political group is specific about mobilizing votes for the party's presidential candidate, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The Nigerian Youth Movement for Ashiwaju says APC remains the party to beat and Ashiwaju is first amongst equals, appealing to Nigerians to entrust him with their mandates for future prosperity.
A leader who is a true Nigerian, a leader who understands our diversity in religion and culture, a leader who will transform and change the economic situation of our country.
We want to put all support groups' individual membership into play to see how many votes that will galvanize, that will give.
Thank you so much for your support for our principal. Thank you so much. We are really grateful. We really appreciate this. And we would carry this group, this noble group, along in the campaign activities for our principal, inshallah.
The group pledged to deploy its structures at all levels of the country for the victory of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and other APC candidates in the country. Still staying with the APC, the All Progressives Congress Southeast Women's Wing has taken the campaign for the party's presidential candidate, Ashiwaju Bola Tinubu, to Owerri, Imo State, where they urged the people to support his emergence as the next president of Nigeria. Beatrice Ayam reports that the women also took the campaign to the Imo State Government House, where they were received by the governor, Hope Uzodimma.
Members of the APC Southeast Women's Wing are here in Owerri, Imo State capital, to drum support for the presidential bid of Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, in the 2023 general election. While appreciating the women who marched along major streets to the government house, Owerri, Governor Hope Uzodinma says the only way to consolidate on the development projects of the present administration is to vote for the APC.
We believe that those who initiated what is happening in Lagos should also initiate what will happen in Nigeria. So if you support him, you are supporting women, you are supporting the youth, and you are also supporting the good interests he has for Nigeria.
As far back as 1999, when there was little or no drive about women inclusion in politics, he, Bola Tinubu, contested that election with a woman as his running mate and gave so many other women the opportunity to be part of his government. He has done well in Lagos State and is going to do better for Nigeria.
The support rally attracted members of the party from the 5 southeast states. In Owerri, Beatrice Anyam, NTA News.
Still on the role of women, our next report says every election cycle comes with its own strategy, and elections are not won by remaining in the Federal Capital Territory, but at various polling units. These were the words of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar during the unveiling of the party's Women Campaign Office in Abuja. Over now to Timothy Yusuf.
This campaign office with the acronym SHE, SHE, standing for Security, Health and Education, is courtesy of Titi Atiku Abubakar, the wife of the PDP presidential candidate. The campaign office is to coordinate and evolve workable strategies towards the victory of the Atiku Okowa presidential ticket in the 2023 elections.
The struggle for the next democratic process is not in Abuja, is in your respective polling units. I want to thank you very much indeed for this beautiful edifice, but it must be accompanied with the results of your polling units.
We look forward to taking this journey with you to get Nigeria back on track through sustainable development opportunities for security, healthcare and education for women, youth and persons with disabilities.
Former Minister of State, Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Becky Ketebu Igwe, is Director General of the SHE campaign. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
We are not done with politics, as the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says Nigerians have to be cautious of the main opposition party. The minister's advice is coming on the heels of alleged allowances said to have been paid members of the party's National Working Committee. Anthony Forsen reports.
The minister said what is happening in the National Working Committee of the opposition PDP is a testament of their past character.
The problem is that the PDP will never change. This issue raises many questions. The first is that what other payments have been made by PDP to their National Working Committee members? Is this the first time it's being paid? Is there evidence that PDP can show us of previous payments or what informed that payment? Where did they get the money from? These are the questions that PDP should be answering and stop being, clever by half.
Likening the situation to, in his words, a leopard can never change its spots, Lai Mohammed said it is a dangerous signal.
A leopard would never change its spots. And God forbid, if they ever have access to the public till, they will leave no cover there. We know what we met in 2015. We are still reeling from it. That is why we hope Nigerians have now seen from this scandal exactly the intention of the PDP.
Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And Lanre is next in line. He guides us on top stories from our Ibadan Network Center. You're on.
Good to see you, Hawa, and welcome to Ibadan. The National Population Commission has identified the buy-in of critical stakeholders as essential to the success of the 2023 population and housing census. Hence, the engagement with stakeholders at a summit tagged 2023 Census, getting the people involved. Kemi Ocean's report is here presented.
The role of detailed data in economic, political and socio-cultural planning of a country explains the commitment of the federal government to the first ever digital census in Nigeria. The Federal Commissioner of National Population Commission, NPC in Oyo State, Dr. Tayo Oyetunji, noted that more than 98% of the preliminary exercise has been completed nationwide.
I wish to respectfully request Your Excellency to establish an all-inclusive committee to collaborate with the Oyo State National Population Commission.
Stakeholders at the event, which include royal fathers, community and religious leaders, as well as government functionaries, urged the Commission on the need to reflect the true statistics for effective distribution of the country's resources. While calling on the people of the state to ensure that they come out en masse to be counted, Oyo State government promised adequate collaboration with NPC.
Get us the right mode, the right template, so that when we go into national census, we will be aware of the importance.
The 2023 Population and Housing Census will be the 5th edition in Nigeria since independence in 1960.
The Federal Road Safety Corps, Oyo State Command, has reaffirmed its readiness to ensure safety of road users during and beyond the Yuletide. Kayode Oladoshi reports that this was made known in a sensitization program for commercial drivers to flag off year 2022 Ember Months campaign in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital.
The failure to attend to tire safety, overspeeding and overloading of passengers has become part of factors in road accidents year in, year out. The reality are not far-fetched, with Ember Months associated with increased mass movement of people and economic activity. It is against this background that the Federal Road Safety Commission placed emphasis on year 2022 Ember Months campaign with the theme Avoid Speeding, Overloading and Unsafe Tires to Arrive Alive.
The vehicles rest on tires. So the issue of using Tokumbo tires at this level of our development is out of it. I advise all drivers within this zone to ensure that they get new tires.
If you look at the town very well now, you will see an increase in the vehicular movement. That means that we have much to do.
The campaign was an avenue to notify motorists that road crashes are mostly human errors, as road users clarified that abiding by road safety and regulations is key for safety on roads.
We do sensitize our fellow commercial motorists to avoid speeding and not to drink while driving, and they adhere.
The campaign was aimed at educating the public to make the year 2022 Ember Month unique and crash-free by adhering strictly to road traffic regulations. In Ibadan, Kayode Oladoshi, NTA News.
Those are the trending stories from Ibadan at this hour. It's time now to join Sadia in our Sokoto Network Center for more reports after this break. Stay with
Join us. Governor Amin Waziri Tambol has warned Nigerians, particularly the youths, to always think of their future and that of the country. Tambol was speaking at an interactive session organized by the State Ministry for Youth and Sports Development and the State Youth Council to mark the 62nd independent anniversary of Nigeria. Bilal Abdullahi has the report.
While asking the youth to vote wisely, a president with capacity and experience in governing the country, Tambol noted that his administration never tolerated youth restiveness, drug abuse, and political thuggery. On education, the governor said his administration spends 8 billion naira annually on school feeding and registration fees for secondary school students alone. He stated that the state government stopped paying salaries of state university lecturers after 6 months of solidarity strike by the national body of ASU.
We have been magnanimous enough. We paid them more than 6 months or 5 months of salaries without work. I appeal therefore to them to be considerate and go back to work.
On his administration's achievements so far, Tambol said he would like to be remembered not for the many ongoing and accomplished constructions, but for his contributions to human capital development. While thanking the governor for his youth inclusiveness in various sectors of his administration, Commissioner for Information, who also oversees Ministry for Youth and Sports Development, Akib Dalhatu, also acknowledged the commitment of Governor Tambol in initiating various empowerment programs for the youth and women in the state. In Sakkwato, Dalhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
The Kebbi State Command of the Nigerian Police has charged political parties to ensure peaceful electioneering campaign across the state ahead of 2023 general elections. The Commissioner of Police, Ahmed Magaji Pontogora, said this at a one-day forum for critical stakeholders. Abdullahi Umar Ilalu Hasmu.
With the political campaigns officially commencing, the need for the key players to play the game according to its rules was harped upon during the engagement. The police on its part confirmed that adequate measures to ensure hitch-free exercise across the state is guaranteed. Political parties in particular were reminded to abide by the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, calling on party leaders and candidates to prevail on their supporters not to engage in any conduct that will incite violence.
I urge political parties too to constantly and publicly reaffirm their commitment to a fair process and desist from attacks on personalities and focus on relevant issues.
The Emir of Gondo represented called on all relevant stakeholders to play the game with decorum. He also charged political parties to educate their supporters to always make peace, dialogue and consensus as their watchword to ensure peaceful 2023 exercise. The Kebbi State Resident Electoral Commissioner Ahmad Mahmoud did not mince words to clearly spell out the do's and don'ts expected.
The other time it was the card reader. The improvement this time around is the beavers. The beavers is the machine that does the accreditation, captures your fingers. If it fails to do that, the next option is your face. So that at the end of the day, you will not go back home without being accredited. These are all improvements.
He said the Commission and other critical stakeholders will embark on aggressive enlightenment campaigns across the state on political participation and peaceful conduct. Abdullah Umar Ilalu, NTA News.
And that's it from this end. It's now back to Hawa in Abuja.
Very well, Sadia. Thank you. To security matters now, as troops of the Guards Brigade on October 1st, 2022 apprehended 64 suspects that attempted to disrupt the Independence Day celebration in Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that this was announced at the bi-weekly Defense Media Operations briefing in Abuja.
It's another Defense Headquarters periodic briefing on ongoing armed forces operations across the country. And top is the arrest of suspects behind a planned disruption of 62nd Independence Anniversary celebration in Abuja.
On 1st October 2022, Guard Brigade troops raided Karshi Hill and surrounding villages in Abuja Municipal Area Council of the Federal Capital Territory, following intelligence reports on plans by hoodlums to disrupt the Independence Day celebration. Troops arrested 64 youths in black attire armed with 9 locally made guns.
The Director of Defense Media Operations also gave insight on the release of the remaining 23 abducted Abuja-Kaduna train passengers.
The Defense Headquarters, in collaboration with other agencies, in a committee that was set up by the President and Commander-in-Chief, have been able to secure their release. Now, in the course of operations, we tell you that there is what we call both kinetic and non-kinetic operations that are being conducted. So this one was part of a non-kinetic operations that was conducted. And that's why we were able to see that those people were secure. Looking for details now might equally subject them to trauma.
Similarly, 33 illegal miners were arrested in Gwagwalada, Abuja. Several criminals arrested and others eliminated while their camps destroyed in different parts of the country. From the defense headquarters in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
And as Nigeria marks 62 years of independence, the Nigeria First Integrity Group is articulating impact of the independence on citizens and nation building. Kenneth Nanim completes the report.
The sight and sounds of the 62nd independence anniversary of Nigeria may have left the stage at the Eagle Square, but has continued elsewhere. Nigeria First Integrity Group is one of the organizations still basking in the euphoria of the anniversary celebration. At this other stage, discussions are concerned with issues that bring the country together as one united entity.
We have to be patient, and if the country keep on growing, we are going to change, and we are going to change. Our children are going to benefit more in the near future.
Each and every one of us here can make Nigeria great again. We can make Nigeria work again by allowing change to begin with.
The need to elect credible leaders come 2023 general polls is another area of interest for the group.
We need a leader who is sharp, articulating, and coherent. We need a leader who has a knowledge as far as green, blue, and digital economy is concerned, so that he can take us out of the economics problem that is being faced globally.
His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his capable lieutenants, they are fit, capable.
The Nigeria First Integrity Group also acknowledges the achievements of the APC-led administration and therefore gives its support to the Tinubu-Shetima presidential ticket for continuity. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Recognizing the importance of peace and conflict resolution in national development, the National Human Rights Commission is engaging religious leaders from diverse faiths on the need to work towards ensuring the attainment of peace at both family and national levels. Over now to Omenka Amarachiku for details.
Nigeria, like other countries of the world over, is faced with issues of conflicts ranging from insurgency, communal clashes, among others. In addressing these challenges, the National Human Rights Commission believes religious leaders who wield a high level of influence on their congregants have a critical role to play.
The Commission has been a critical partner in all pertinent interventions targeted at achieving peace in Nigeria. The Commission has also taken proactive steps in monitoring the impact of conflicts on human rights in conflict settings, especially in the northeast Nigeria, and has been engaged in capacity building for security personnel towards mainstreaming human rights in their counter-insurgency operations.
And so, this engagement is to prevail on religious leaders in FCT to help emphasize and promote message of peace and harmonious coexistence among their worshippers for the sake of national development.
If we, the participants that have come to be sensitized, if we can adhere to the teachings of this program, there will be peace in this country.
It's a good initiative for them to sensitize religious leaders so that they can give back to their community and teach them on how to ensure peaceful coexistence within the society.
The theme was centered on human rights, peace building and conflict resolution in Nigeria. In Abuja, Omega Marchuku, NTA News.
The International Police Chaplain Sustainable Development and Law Enforcement and the World Chaplain Association of Human Rights in Nigeria have been inaugurated to promote peace and equal access to justice for all. Haman Jabani has the report.
World Chaplain Association Human Rights and International Police Chaplain Sustainable Development and Law Enforcement is a non-governmental entity accredited by the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations, ECOSOC, It trains men and women that can play leadership role in their communities for a better world.
Having the commander for Nigeria here is a hope for a good thing to happen also in Nigeria in terms of training our officers that will be able to carry out the mandate of peace as we always preach.
The primary mission of the Nigerian branch is to train volunteers to promote peace and its values in all Nigerian communities, work as humanitarians, international security and peace officers, international electoral observers, judges of peace and human rights defenders.
When you are called upon to come and champion peace, is something that is needed at this critical time. Human rights should be a priority for every human being. If you're living, you are not being protected, then you are not living.
This kind of organization, there's a lot of Nigerian youth who are out there, who are educated, who are looking forward for a new challenge. This is it.
IPCSL focuses on reducing conflict in the world and building a foundation for peace to actively increase involvement in peacekeeping and humanitarian assistance operations. Nigeria is the third country in Africa to have its branch inaugurated. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
And sports update with Chukunonso Mwabezi is next. Our campaign against rape and rapists is still on. Be our partner. And that's nationwide today. Thanks for watching. I'm Hawa Salihu Adama. Good evening.